For those of you who've missed another great episode of the Shadowspark Chronicles, here's what has occurred. After our group says their goodbyes to Jade, they rest for the night and regroup to head for the city of Smyrna the very next morning. Gathering their things and hitching the horse to the cart, they leave Candor's Keep behind them. Not sure how they will handle dealing with District Manager Caldera, or even how they will coax a confession from her. The group has a lot to think about going forward, and the discussion turns to the fact that they aren't getting much help from the local justice systems. Curious. They travel until sundown and rest for the night. While Quentin and Moslin sleep, Bishop tries to remember some more of his past. He sees an image of a woman with a long, dark hair. Wearing a white robe, she passes him and rides off into battle. The vision fades, leaving Bishop even more confused about his past. The group begins traveling again the following day, and all is uneventful as traveling goes here on the Isles of Frisia. They come across an intersection on the road. North leads to the city of Yagish, west leads to Stoneshell Farmstead and Sandwood Lake, but south leads to Smyrna. They continue their way towards Smyrna. While traveling, they come across the Stoneshell Farmstead and are greeted warmly by farmhands leaving the fields for the day. Music can be heard from one of the two homes, and the group decide to stop and investigate the merriment. They are greeted by a familiar voice, one they haven't heard in quite a while. The good Scutus Stoneshell, whom the group met traveling outside of Candor's Keep a month back. He welcomes them into his home and invites them to sit and have dinner with him. He informs them that his family has owned this farm and lived in the area for decades. They have seen a lot with these islands, good and bad. He then informs them that the Shadowsparks have been around even longer. He tells them that Pora and Fane Shadowspark were on opposite sides of the Great War. There was also the city of Dosh, that is now nothing more than ruins, but it might hide some history of the islands. Scutus invites them to stay the night and even asks if anyone wishes to join him for some morning fishing. Helga and Moslin accept. They all retire for the evening. The next morning, Helga and Moslin meet up with the old turtle and proceed out to Sandwood Lake for some fishing. Bishop meets some of the farmhands out in the field and helps harvest the fields for a while. They all meet back up for breakfast and say their goodbyes to Scutus. They travel 2 more days and finally arrive at Smyrna. It is much smaller than they anticipated, and it shows no signs of a great library or even the old city it was built over. The group finds their way to the local tavern in hopes of hearing some rumors or bits of information, but hit brick wall after brick wall. There are some flyers laying around the tavern describing an event that would change the people's lives. Volunteers are welcome. Moslin sees someone sitting at a table littered with books and decides to see if he knows anything about that old city. But to his surprise, he finds that the person is none other than a Vidalcan, and the two hit it off quickly. Oz decides he's going to sit and watch the entrance of the tavern, and Quentin sees some people playing some games and decides to sit and join them. Bishop goes off to a corner of the tavern and decides to watch the happenings going on within. He is approached by a young woman who introduces herself as Bren Stoutheart, and she shows great interest in his construction. He lets Bishop know that if he would like someone to examine him and maybe learn more of his construction, then she would take him to her friend, someone named Gaz, and they could help him. A loud announcement can be heard from the streets as a crier yells out about the upcoming event at the docks and that it will be hosted by one Colton Frost. Please join us every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we continue with the adventures of the Shadow Spark Chronicles. And as always, we'll see you in the dungeon. You want me to start from the top? Okay. Um,